Okay. Are we all ready? Are we here? Gary operating from the
Right.
shadows. Good. Well,
Voice.
this is our kick out at two NFL draft preview special. Your normal merry bunch of assholes, Nick, Brian, and Steve, are here. And of course,
Yeah.
because it's a sports show, we're here to do sports talk with Gary, but also we have a special guest. Adam Kravitz, Gary's nephew, is here, and he's going to be our draft specialist today. So we've got our ESPN insider, we've got a draft specialist, and also me and Brian and Steve are here. So, hi, guys. How are we today?
Good morning. Good morning, Nick. We're 5 days away.
We're how
We
many
are
days away,
five
Gary?
days away from the draft.
We are Donovan McNabb days away from the draft.
Is it five will always love you.
Right. That many days.
Yes.
It's pretty exciting stuff. Like, I am kind of here for it. So listen, today we're just kind of going over the Eagles draft. We're going to talk about kind of the top of the order, really, like your top picks. Who are the, maybe give me some of your up to 10 guys that you think are just definitely going top 10 picks. And then we're really going to get into just the Eagles draft picks. All right. All rounds, talk about possible trades and kind of our wish list for today. And then, when it all descends into madness and chaos, we're just going to let it roll with that. Um, so, Adam, you're the new guy. You're the guest. We're going to let you start off. Why don't you give us your rundown of what the top of this draft class looks like this year?
Okay, so this draft class is interesting because all the hype is around two really different positions than the big money positions. You got the off-ball linebackers, the two from Ohio State, Sonny Styles and Arvell Reese, and then you also have Caleb Downs from Ohio State. What makes this draft really unique is I actually feel like the Eagles or teams in the 15 and up are in a better position because the difference between, I would say, pick 7 to 30 is not a lot of gap. So the Eagles got a lot of flexibility, and there's also about 6 or 7 good offensive tackles that would be in the first, I would say, 40 picks. So the Eagles got some flexibility. Now for the top 10, obviously Mendoza, I feel like that's a slam dunk. Now, here's my big curveball here. I don't know how Aaron Glenn and the Jets have any hope if they just sit with Sonny Styles or Val Reese or whatever the media is. I would go Ty Simpson. First off, I love Ty Simpson, but I think he's a year away from being productive. That's the man I would go with him. I think the Jets could do that. The Cardinals are next, and I would go Arvell Reese. I feel like that makes sense, kind of where the direction they are. They need a pass rusher. Then the Tennessee Titans, I've heard different ways of going defensive end, D tackle, but I think Frank Mauigoa from Miami makes the most sense. He played with Cam Ward at Miami. He's probably top 3 talent in this class. Then I would go with the Giants, Carnell Tate. I think they need another receiver. They struck gold essentially with Jackson Dart being successful and what he was. I would keep building off of that. Cleveland Browns. Then I would go the Sonny Styles avenue if they're not going to go QB. I think if Ty Simpson's gone, I think a face of that defense as they continue to grow it. I don't know what's going to end up happening with Myles Garrett. The Commanders, David Bailey is probably out of Texas Tech is probably the best pass rusher in this class. He's really long. He's kind of an old school player because he doesn't wear gloves. It's kind of cool to watch. Uh, then with the Saints, I would go Mekhi Lemon. He's a wide receiver from USC. He's like a do-it-all type of guy. I think that's with Tyler Shug going into his second year at quarterback. I think that's a really good step forward for them. Next to the Chiefs, here is another kind of curveball. I think the Travis Kelce train is truly ended about 2 years ago, but for show, let's keep him rolling. But I would go Kenyon Sadiq. I think out of Oregon, I think he's a nice. It's early for him, but I think it's a nice play to get some more offense for Mahomes. And then with the Bengals, I'd go Ruben Bain. If you notice, I purposely am trying to keep out Caleb Downs, even though I think he's one of the best players. But that's kind of my hope. That's kind of my vision. I know it's a lot of hot takey kind of views of it, but that's kind of where I am with it.
I think
No, love,
no.
love not going in the top 10.
No, I don't see a running back. I think the Ashton Genty experiment from last year. I actually saw Love play in person. I went to Notre Dame, Texas A&M. I'm gonna be honest, most of those fans there didn't even think he was the best running back there. I think he's a good player, but I think this year the hype of Sonny Styles and Arvell Reese and Love are a little like over the top for like what their talent is. But I think he's like the next tier, like next going after that. But that's kind of where I see it.
I think it's interesting. I think you're right, though. The one thing I think for this draft is that it's outside of Mendoza, the first pick in the draft. I don't see there being a lot of franchise star making players in this draft. There's not a lot of headline guys, I feel like.
Of the sexy positions, right? Of your wide
Yeah.
receiver, running back, D end, edge, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I really don't think that there's a lot of those guys in this draft. And I think that's why really there hasn't been a lot of it feels like it's been a lot quieter for some reason for the draft this year than others. If you hear about teams trying to trade back, usually that's more at the top. With teams trying to trade back, it's more of an indictment of the talent,
Mhm.
the lack of talent on the top at the front of the draft. And so I think you're right. I think there's a lot of offensive tackles in this draft, top offensive tackles. I think there's a lot of solid linemen or D linemen, and I think there's good. There's always going to be good wide receivers based on how football is developed nowadays. But I just don't think like you have like franchise quarterbacks and all these other things like what's in generation type wide receivers, and like I think that's like this is a solid draft for its depth, which is good for the Eagles because the Eagles need depth. They have franchise players. They don't need franchise guys. They have but they need depth guys and solid contributors and long term contributors, and that's what this draft more or less is. So it'll be interesting to see what happens at the top of it. Ty Simpson, number 2. That's a hell of a swing. Yeah.
What do the Jets got to lose at this point? Is how I kind of look at it. Last year, from a fan perspective, they brought in Justin Fields, and it's like Aaron Glenn. Well, what are we doing? Just let's keep being 3 and whatever. Like I don't know. I feel like let's take the shot, especially Jackson Dart across the way.
Could you imagine them just moving back from the top of the second round into the end of the first round to get Simpson? Because for a quarterback, you want to draft a quarterback in the first round because first round guys, their rookie contracts run for 5 years, and every other rookie after that for every other round is only 4 years. So the importance of getting a quarterback that you really think is a franchise quarterback in the first round gives you an extra year of development or decision in order before you have to like decide, hey, this is our franchise guy or not.
And Gary, what does that statement tell you, Gary? That Brian doesn't listen to the podcast? Because Gary brings that up. Gary has brought that up every week for the last like 5 weeks.
Yeah, I'm sure. Great minds think alike.
I couldn't stop smiling. I couldn't stop smiling because when Adam said Ty Simpson at 2, I thought Brian's eyeballs were going to pop out of his head. I just watched Brian's face. I thought it was priceless. Yeah. I mean, continue, guys.
Yeah. So Brian, if you don't think Simpson's going at 2, if you think Love's going top 10, why don't you give us? Do you have a top 10 that you want to share with us?
No, I just think. Going off of Adam or what Adam said, I think I would be surprised at 2. I could see them taking Vel Reese, the Jets, because Aaron Glenn's a defensive guy. They just need talent anywhere and everywhere. The Jets, so they're not in a position to pick and choose. I feel like, we need to specifically look at this one spot, and I don't think that there's enough talent at the top of the draft to warrant picking another quarterback up there. So, like, I could see Arvell Reese going at number 2, and then I could, I think for Tennessee, if they end up taking the kid from the lineman from Miami, it makes total sense, But I think that they have an opportunity to put a skill position player with their quarterback, I think that's kind of where I was thinking like Jeremiah Love would be, or like any sort of skill position player at 4, because they need skill position talent around Cam Ward. So I could see that. I think the Giants end up taking no lineman because of Harbaugh and the new philosophy they're going to have there. So I wouldn't be shocked at that. Then the way that the rest of the boards goes, I really just see it being a mix of offensive and defensive linemen going. Like it's sort of the way that this draft feels like it's going to shake out. You throw in a cornerback from LSU, Mansour Delane, but I feel like it's he'll probably be in there, but I kind of feel like that's sort of where it is. And then it's going to be interesting to see where Caleb Downs goes. He is unbelievably talented, but he plays at a position that's not really considered a high priority. Like he's pretty much safety is pretty much considered like the running back by committee position of the defense right now across the league. Like people really aren't investing a ton in that position. You can see for the Eagles themselves. So be interesting to see how high Downs goes based on not his skill, but the value of what people think the safety position is.
Okay. All right. I mean, I think if you see him fall, that'd be super. If you see him fall into the second round and the Eagles can snag a safety in the second round, but
he's not going to the second round. But the kid from Toledo, I might see he may fall in the second round. That could be a kid that could fall.
Now, Brian, here's something you don't know is that for today's podcast, Steve came with a bunch of notes, and we know what happens when Steve has notes. He's going to use them explicitly to get his point across very clearly. So I want to now.
No. So I'm clearly out of my league here with this because my ability to pay attention to anybody in the draft is just not there. I'm kind of like Nick. Like I don't care until it happens and it's over. You guys said all my people.
That's what I
But I want to focus on the third pick in the Arizona Cardinals. And I thought they'd take Arbel Reese because their defense was in the bottom of the league at pressure rate and sacks. So he's immediate pass rush help. That being said, they should go for a quarterback because Jacoby Brissett is terrible, and I don't think they're going to do that. So that's my Arizona pick. I'm gonna pass it back to you.
All right. Well, I mean, there's only one more guy we have to talk to about our draft picks. So we're going to go, and I know we're going to get some wild card answers now. So, Gary, how wrong are Adam and Brian and Steve on all their picks? You tell them now.
Yeah, I'm not even saying they're wrong, but as they're talking, something just keeps burning in my head, and it's something that Brett Veach said, the Chiefs GM, and he's Andy Reid's right-hand guy, and he was in Philly for a long time, and he found supposedly Deshaun Jackson and LaShawn McCoy, and he said, this is a different draft because only one quarterback's going to take it in the first round, maybe two, and there's no, I mean, you could comment on this, but Brian said there's no Will Anderson in this draft, right? So he's thinking that there's going to be a lot of movement, potentially maybe here up and down the board. And coming into this, again, to me, the Eagles, they need help at safety, and obviously we're going to talk at other positions. I never thought in a million years that a guy like Caleb Downs would drop really, really far. But I do wonder if he gets to 10 or anywhere from 10 to maybe even 13 if Howie doesn't make a phone call. So because maybe they wanted that premier talent. But in terms of my kind of top 10, and I didn't even, because I do think there's going to be movement on the board. I just had, obviously Mendoza at 1, Bailey at 2, Reese at 3, Jordan Love. I actually think Jordan Love, believe it or not, I think Jordan Love could go to the Giants. I'm not Jordan Love, Jeremiah Love. I'm sorry, Jeremiah Love, because number one, Harbaugh, obviously he loves defense. He loves running the football. Who knows what's up with Scadaboo? So I could see Jeremiah Love potentially going to the Giants, and I could also see some Steve, like you mentioned, Arizona can use a quarterback, but how high is Arizona on Ty Simpson? Like you just wonder if some of these teams after one, the draft really begins. I do think David Bailey's going to go to 2, and then maybe have some teams move up, move down, especially when, again, supposedly, and I thought once upon a time we heard about this class, supposedly next year is supposed to be a great draft class for quarterbacks. So, does Arizona want to move down and get picks for next year? But yeah, for my top 10, I just got Mendoza, David Bailey, Reese, Love, Caleb Downs. Hopefully he drops. I do think I think Sonny Styles could be a Dallas Cowboy. Cornell Tate, I could see him going to Washington. Ruben Bain, he's a pass rusher, and pass rushers are at a premium. Let's see about the cornerback, obviously out of LSU. We know about LSU corners, and I think cornerback's a premium position in the NFL. And then Muwaga, he's in my top 10, but he could potentially kind of move up and get drafted. And then are we going to have that shock, a half hour before draft night where some report comes out, right? And then so that kind of thing too, as we saw, Laramie Tunsil, and obviously the Eagles got the best player in the draft that year with Jalen Carter. Like if there was nothing coming out with him, I don't think the Eagles would have got him. So yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of movement, and I think for the most part you guys hit the top 10, and yeah, we'll talk more about the Birds.
I do have some pushback on the Giants Jeremiah Love conversation.
Me too. Yeah.
Didn't they just do that with Saquon Barkley? I don't understand. And then with the Jets conversation, they've been drafting defense forever, and they have a ton of draft picks. It's not a number 2 pick. That's a normal number 2 pick because they have other first round picks. They have a ton of picks. So to me, I hate to say it, but it's almost like it's worth the risk. I don't think Ty Simpson is the second best player in this draft.
No.
But I do think he's the best option for them because Geno Smith is not. That's not real. Yeah.
You think it's
The same player.
Exactly.
But you think it's more likely the Jets take him at 2 versus I kind of agree with Brian said, they jump back into that back end of the first round.
The Giants got lucky last year with Dart dropping that far. I think teams like Ty Simpson more than the media does. And I think Ty Simpson is a year away from being good, which is strange in this NFL of quarterbacks because it's usually you draft them, you start them, and that's kind of the perspective. But he's actually a year away from being where he is. But yeah, the Giants drafting a running back is that's humorous to me. I mean, you just did that with Saquon and let him walk.
Yeah. They do need to improve their O line. I feel like they've tried to improve their O line and they keep missing on that. So, yeah, I mean, so
I think that the Harbaugh is gonna bring the Baltimore Ravens Ozzie Newsome approach of it doesn't matter, just take the best player available.
Yeah.
And it could be Love, yeah, it could be, but I think that they're gonna the position where they are for the depth that they have in the draft. I think that's why they're gonna say, hey, we're taking the best offensive line of one of the best groups here. We're in that position, and we need to build the line anyway. They've been trying to bring in bodies to rebuild that offensive line. I mean, the Jackson Dart, as much as everybody loves him, the guy's made of fine china. He already has 5 concussions, and he's only played one NFL season, not even a full NFL season. So I can't necessarily, I think they're gonna try as hard as they can to keep this kid standing up straight.
And I think maybe Muwaga goes 5 to the Giants. I can see that, but I don't see. And I certainly could be wrong. I just don't see Jeremiah Love falling out of the top 10. I think somebody's going to grab him.
Yeah, I can see that.
Zenti thing kind of scares people away. I mean,
No.
it's the same kind of world.
No, I think Genti was more of a product of chaos of the Raiders last year and less of this guy doesn't have the talent to be in the league. Like I think Jenny will be fine, especially this year, like with Kubiak as head coach and Mendoza have a little more structure there. I think you're going to see him really leap forward from year 1 to year 2. But again, it's running back is so dependent. The success of running back is so dependent on so many other positions being good that I think that's where the knock is against that position ultimately.
The Chiefs I find interesting too because, like, yeah, like maybe they go with the heir apparent to Travis Kelce with Sadiq, but I just kind of see like Andy Reid, loves the line, and Spagnola's got to be like, dude, like get me a cornerback, right? So like,
Yeah.
that's where I kind of see the kid from LSU maybe going to the Chiefs.
And they just traded their cornerback, didn't they? Didn't they just trade
McDuffie.
right?
Yeah.
Chiefs? Yeah, so I could
Kinda.
see that. Like
If they take
over.
this Sadiq in the first round, they take a tight end in the first round, that signals to me that whole franchise is just on a decline. Because a tight end in the first round to save your quarterback, to give him a weapon, like on across the middle, like your check down option, that just tells me they're not trying to build anything. They're just trying to stay afloat and maybe get back to the playoffs. And that doesn't speak to me like a team that's trying to kind of continue what they're doing. They're
He's kind of a unique type of tight end, though. He's more of like a receiver than a tight end. Like he's not like your staple tight end. Like it's kind of he's more of a threat, like a weapon threat, deep threat than he would be like a check down type of guy. So he is kind of unique. I will say that.
even still, that's a team that needs to bolster their defense. They have talent on offense. They have to bolster their defense, and if they don't do that in the first round, they're just going to keep declining. Which I'm happy to see. After the shellacking that they took at Super Bowl 59, to just see that spiral is really wonderful.
They haven't been the same since.
No. So, Gary, you brought up the thought that Howie might trade up somewhere into the range of like the 10th to 12th pick for maybe a safety. Look, Brian and I think, are on the same page, and we don't think they're ever going to take a safety in the first round of this draft. But what is everybody's opinion on Howie and making some trade? He's doing something with some picks. He always does. What do we think he's going to do this draft? What do we think the options are as far as trading up or down in that first round?
Yeah, I'll just say this, Nick. I'll start it off and throw it around the room. There's no doubt in my mind he's trading up.
Oh wow.
Yeah, no doubt in my mind he's trading up.
Whoa.
And I got a couple guys I think he trades up for if they're available, but he's going to trade up.
That's interesting. I mean, look, he has a history, right, of trade ups of guys who fell, right? So Devontae Smith they traded up for slightly. It's traded up slightly for Carter. So it's there, right? It's definitely there.
Yeah, I think they even traded up a little bit for Jordan Davis, and they stayed put. They stayed put for Quinyon Mitchell. But Adam, you might remember with that Quinyon Mitchell draft. I mean, there were certainly a couple quarterbacks taken in that draft.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So when the quarterbacks get taken, that's gonna push these other guys down. That's the issue with this class is at best you're gonna get 2 quarterbacks in the first round.
The question, I guess, is
I think he's trading up, and I got 2 guys in mind.
Trading up, who would you see falling that they would be? There's one guy that I could see that they trading up for past Detroit at 17. And that is but in my mind, I still don't think that it's worth trading up for is that Monroe Freeling. I think if that Monroe Freeling falls, the tackle from Georgia, I don't think he gets past Detroit at 17.
Yeah.
And so I could see them trying to move up in front of Detroit. But then the thought is that, but there are so many tackles in this draft. Why would you trade up for a tackle when there's a ton already available still?
Yeah, see, if they stay at 23, like, I just don't like the options at 23. That's why I'm actually kind of hoping they trade up. I don't know. How do you guys feel about, like, would you rather a trade up, or do you think there's enough there that they could get somebody good at 23?
I think that compensatory pick at 98 is the trade piece. And I completely agree. I think they're moving up. I also believe you hit it right there was Monroe Freeling. I feel like that is the safest Eagles pick in this draft. I completely agree with you. But I also am with you on I don't think it's worth really moving up for the offense line because there's like 4 different guys where they're sitting they could get. I will say if Caleb Downs goes to 13, I do see a world, and I know the Eagles don't draft safeties, but he's a different type of safety. He's like the guy closest to him I can think of is Eric Berry coming out. Like that type of talent coming out. And the only reason he would not be drafted as a top 5 is only because he's a safety. It's not because of his talent. It's like nothing else. And that would be the guy the Eagles, I've talked to Gary about this, is I would trade AJ Brown in a trade to get Caleb Downs because I think he's that much of an impact. Like I believe that is the guy, but I 100% agree with you that I do think they will trade up, and I think it's that 3rd round, 2nd pick they have that is the piece.
What do you guys think about Dylan Thieneman?
So he's kind of like your do-it-all guy. I like him. I think I don't know if he's a 1st round pick though, unless it's like I look at it last year. I've talked to Gary about this multiple times. I think if you don't have a 1st round pick that is starting or a major contributor, it holds your team back. And I know we love Jahad Campbell. He did nothing when Nakobe Dean was back. And I think that hurt us. I mean, you look at Quinyon Mitchell. He was part of that Super Bowl run. I think it's too important. And I think this guy, you're talking about Dylan, I don't think he's worth a 1st round pick. He's solid, but he's not, I wouldn't pull the chips for him.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice if he fell to that 68 pick. I think that'd be like, and if the Eagles pick him up there and develop him for a year, I think that'd be perfect. But they kind of need a guy right now. So unless they do some kind of trade, and they're not trading AJ Brown, they're not trading him. No one is picking up that contract. No one's going. Listen, if Howie Roseman got a 1st round pick for a guy that he gave a 1st round pick for 5-6 years ago and went to 2 Super Bowls and won a Super Bowl with, who is an older player now, if he gets a 1st round pick for AJ Brown, that is absolute thievery of the highest order. If somebody listen, I don't think it's going to happen. If somebody offers a 1st round pick for AJ Brown, he's gone. He's gone. That's it.
Yep.
You're taking that 1st round pick. You're taking a player. You're going to end up with a player that can help you right now. That being said, what about trading away your 1st round pick? If you're stuck at 23 and you don't love the pick, can you trade that 1st round pick for either more picks later on, which Howie's known to do, or a player that's out there right now that's already linked to the Eagles? Like there are players, you got the guy, of course his name's, I'm losing his name right now, and Kyle's going to kill me for it. The edge rusher out of Minnesota. That's been the Eagles. Say it again for us. Yeah. And then you have the obvious names that are out there, right? Your Myles Garrett, your Max Crosby are sitting out there. Is that now that Max Crosby was returned damaged to the Raiders, that have to offload him because they now signed a bunch of guys after they thought they traded him away. Could the Eagles do something with that number 23 pick to secure an edge rusher that can really change the look of this defense?
I don't think that the roster that they have right now, especially on offense, the core is getting older. Lane Johnson, Barkley, AJ Brown. So I don't think the approach right now would be to add more players who are older and on their 2nd large contract for what they're going to have to do over the course of the next few years. I don't think that necessarily is going to work. Now, for me, to quote Austin Powers, I'll stay. I don't think that they move up or down. I don't think they have to move up or down. I think if they're going to stay where they are and the player that they want is coming to them because of the depth of the draft, the depth in this draft matching where the Eagles are at right now as their franchise and their team, I think it just lines up perfectly with them at 23. And I think, I can see them making moves in the back end in the later rounds, to accumulate picks for next year. But I think at 23, I wouldn't be if they stayed at 23. I wouldn't be surprised. It wouldn't be the most shocking thing for me.
So if they stay at 23, I want to throw two names at you guys, just from what I'm reading, and I want to get your take on these guys if you've seen them play. Because I'll say this: if they stay at 23 and take a defensive end, that guy will hit the field. He will certainly play. I think defensive end, again, they wanted to keep Jalen Phillips. They got priced out with that. You got Nolan Smith coming back. But he's far from he had a great playoff run when they won the Super Bowl, but he's not he's still kind of on defense, if you will. And then I think they like Jalen Hunt, but if they get a defensive end, that guy's going to play too. He'll definitely hit the field. So I want to hit you guys with two names and just kind of what you think. Zion Young and then the kid Falk from Auburn. Because I could see if they go defensive end, maybe one of those two kids. I could totally see them going defensive end at 23.
I can give you for Falk, that's your Jalen Phillips guy. He plays inside and outside. He's he's perfect, long, strong.
He's ready against the on.
What'd you say?
Sorry.
Yeah. No, he's a very versatile defensive lineman. He's good against the run. His production is not the strongest, but that's more of the scheme that they did in Auburn. He, to me, is if they really love the Jalen Phillips type, that's exactly the player. And I could see he's the other one, other than Monroe Freeling, I think, is the other one. Zion Young, he's got the pass rush ability. He's just very inconsistent, and he's kind of like one of those hothead players that gets in fights on the field, and
we don't need another
style.
We tend to love that here in Philadelphia.
Right.
My concern with him, the Derek Barnett type of guy.
We just traded for Tariq Woolen, so we now have 3 or 4 of those guys. So we don't need no. They're gonna have to look for a guy that can just chill out after the play.
Adam, you could see Falk at 23 and play.
Yeah, well, I don't know if he's 100% going to sit drop to 23, but I think he's the guy that around that. I think there's about 6 players realistically, if they're sitting at 23, that they have a chance at. So I'm with Brian on they don't have to trade up, but I also don't see Howie I'm content just sitting at 23 if I want my guy.
And I have 2 guys that they would trade up for. Obviously, one being Downs, okay. But I think you'd have to trade up quite a bit for him. Even hopefully he drops because he's another guy I could see Dallas getting. But here's a guy that I could see them trading up for. Or do you guys think he could be there 23? The tackle from Utah, Spencer Fano, and kind of looking into him. I always use Sean Andrews as that benchmark, and what I like about Fano is he could play multiple positions, and because right now, going into the season, because I love Landon Dickerson, but I'm scared to death with Landon Dickerson because of the injuries last year. And, Lane, he's going to play, but he's not going to play a full, so I want a versatile guy that can move up and down that line. So what do you think of Spencer Fano?
He's okay, but I don't know if he's Andre Dillard essentially. So do you really want to go down that route? And if you're interested in the Landon Dickerson, there's a guy that will be in the second round. I don't know what point, from Georgia Tech, Caden Rutledge. He's this big brawler. I believe the offense, if they're not going with trading up for Freeling or Caden Proctor, who I think is a very interesting one from Alabama. But if they're gonna, I think the offensive lineman in the second round is where you're gonna find it. I believe that.
You guys like Proctor?
He's an interesting player because he's got all the talent, like a Jason Peters athleticism. They played him at running back basically at times at Alabama. He's ginormous. He's just so raw and inconsistent. So that's really not any other year. If he was more polished, he would probably be a top 3 pick, but he's so inconsistent. So, and Alabama offensive linemen aren't usually consistently that great recently too. So
yeah. Well,
what do you think about Max Iancore from Arizona State behind Lane Johnson for a little while as developmental?
love that one because he's got a great story. That he didn't play football till so late. But that's a great if the Eagles are content and they have the idea of best thing is this kid not play. He's probably your best option. He has all the talent. He's proven he's done in such a short amount of time. He's a big, super athletic offensive lineman. I think that's a great one. If they're content and going, I don't care about the production in the first round. I'm going to throw a name out for you guys who I think if they sit there at 23, and it might sound kind of strange at first, but I think he gives a lot of options, is a Zachariah Branch from USC. So when he played with Caleb at USC, he was like all world, all freshman, punt return, kick return, speedy receiver. Then he got hurt. Then he went to Georgia. He had a great year at Georgia. And I just am under the impression that the Eagles, they've drafted defense, and they need like a young weapon, especially with the future of AJ Brown next year. I'm not even worried about this year, but like what's their plans next year? This guy he's explosive. You have the punt returner now. You have the kick returner. Like he can be that like kind of gadget guy. I think he's kind of an interesting play. I'm curious what you guys think of Zachariah Branch.
Going in the first round.
Yeah, at that 23, like I've said before, I mean, maybe you see it differently. I believe the picks from 7 to like 35-ish are relatively, there's not a giant gap in talent. And yeah, you could probably trade back a little bit, like is what you're saying for Branch, but let's
Yeah, I
just say
mean,
this. If they were to first round pick him, to pick him in the first round.
I would think that so outside of this organization's glaring weakness for years has been drafting and developing wide receivers outside of the obvious, hey, this guy's the Heisman Trophy winner, greatest college wide receiver in the last 8 years from Alabama. Draft him here, idiot. Like Devontae Smith. Like outside of that, like they don't really have a great track record with identifying and developing these young guys at wideout. So I don't know. I mean, if they were to draft a wide receiver, you'd be like, okay, but is he? You would get the feeling that you're like, this guy's more or less likely going to be a bust than it is. This guy's going to be a difference maker, only based on the track record of the front office and the franchise. You know,
You feel most confident with the offensive line then, even though they have a new offensive line coach?
dude, I'm
Like,
not too. I'm not sold on the new offensive line coach yet, honestly, but I think that the organization knows how to identify who's a good lineman and who's not a good lineman, and who can fit into what their expectations are.
Yeah, it's like Nick's favorite player, Matt Pryor.
Hey, don't
or
pessimize me.
Andre Dillard, Danny Watkins.
Well, Danny Watkins was a lifetime ago, and that was Andy Reid. And
I have a signed football right there, signed by Danny Watkins.
right, you have a signed fireman's hat.
Yeah, I was about to say, is
Like-
it a fire hose?
Yeah, he spent more time doing that than playing football. Sorry, if you saw me looking off in the distance, my robot vacuum just turned on by itself, and now I think I have to burn my house down.
Do you want to get to Nick? Do you want to get to who we think the Eagles are taking?
Yeah. So I want to go in reverse order here. So actually, I don't want to go in reverse order. I want to start with Steve. I want, before everybody else gives their Eagles full draft list, before you get them all off his game, get your list out and tell us what you've got. Start at, and if you think there are trades happening within, include that too. Take a few seconds on each player and just give us your rundown on the Eagles draft.
All right. Well, at first and second, first round pick, I was saying Max Ian Core. Jeez, I got stuck. I just think he's a good guy to put behind Lane Johnson because we need to develop someone who's going to be a long-term answer. He's got classic Howie trait picks, and I think he'd be fine. I mean, I don't really know who else is out there. The guy's name just stuck in my head. For round 2, Dylan Thieneman in Oregon. He's versatile. He's a rangy ball player, and I think he'd be good alongside Makuba, as we need that back end void fixed. Wide receiver in round 3 was that 68 pick, Elijah Surratt. He's a big receiver. He's got yak ability, and I think we need a little bit of that. Who's that? Who's next? 98?
Yeah.
Is that correct? Okay. Zion Young. I think we talked a little bit about him earlier. He's a bend rusher. He's got length and power, and he can grow. Round 4, sorry. Eli Stowers, Vanderbilt tight end. I don't really think we need, I got a couple tight ends on this list. I don't really think we are looking at tight ends. We got a lot of tight ends right now, and we might be getting Zach Ertz back for a year, apparently. I don't know if that's true. So I'm going to move on to Zane Durant. What's that, pick 137? Out of Penn State. We need a bigger lineman on the inside. And I think he's a monster. Dalen Everett, cornerback out of Georgia. Whatever.
Yeah, we get later rounds. It's kind of whatever, but
It's amazing scouting report.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I got this quarterback.
Whatever.
I mean, I really know, I'm out of my
I
depth.
love it. It's
with
amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love it.
All right, that was beautiful. Yeah, look,
Yeah.
that tackle you have in the first, man, he is on a lot of people's draft boards to go to the Eagles. So,
Yeah.
and listen, it's not sexy to take an offensive tackle. It never is, but that they should be going that direction. So, Gary, you comfortable going after that? Following that act there?
Sure. I'll
Fix me, Gary. Fix me.
I'll
He said
do my
no.
best.
No.
Yeah, I'll do my best. As much as I want more line help for this team, I know they drafted some guys last year, but my first round pick, assuming they stay at 23, and knowing they're all about, guys in the building that we know and all that stuff. So I actually believe they are going to go safety. And I believe that they're going to go with Emmanuel McNeil Warren out of Toledo. I think Sirianni, there's a relationship there. They hit on Quinion Mitchell. These two guys played together. He was productive at Toledo. I could see him going at 23. And then in terms of the rest of the board, if you will, from where they might go, I think they go safety at 23. Is there any chance that they would go like they did with Lito and Sheldon? They probably won't. I also like AJ Halsey out of LSU, the other safety. But I think in the second round, I think they'll go with the edge rusher, Mason Thomas out of Oklahoma. And then round 3, they will go. Now, see, I had, from what I read, Zachariah Branch, I had him going round 3. Now, maybe you think there's no way in a world where he's going to be there round 3. But I would love Zachariah Branch in round 3. Zachariah Branch he was the top rated high school player coming out. So what you said with the punt return ability was absolutely electric. And I would love to see them get Zachariah Branch in round 3 if he lasted that long. Maybe that doesn't even happen. And then the other pick in round 3, I got the cornerback out of Texas, Malik Muhammad. Is that a Jewish round 4? Round 4.
Okay.
Round 4.
The other one.
Max Lane, edge out of Iowa. Again, I think they're going to want to get guys off the edge. I could guarantee you that on day 3, they will absolutely take a defensive tackle because they're not going to have a Jomo after this season. I do believe they will extend Jalen Carter. So you're going to have, you will have Carter and obviously Jordan Davis. The guy they drafted last year out, and you talked about out of Nebraska, really gave them nothing. So in round 5, I think they go Zane Durant from Penn State. And then round 6, and I don't know if he's going to be there round 6. But Brian, if he's there in round 6, I actually think they take your boy Taylor Green, the quarterback out of Arkansas.
Don't you dare.
Oh, so good. Oh, give him number 12.
Oh,
It would be so good. It would be so good.
Timing of a pick like that would actually be really great, right? Like you have how many years do you have left with a guy like Jalen Hurts, right? Like to bring a guy in and you give him a couple years behind Jalen Hurts, and then you can move on to the next guy who looks like Randall Cunningham and plays like Randall Cunningham and makes Brian call him Randall Cunningham. Maybe.
And John Gruden, Brian and John Gruden call him Randall Cunningham.
Well, John Gruden is not on the
The-
podcast, so
Jan-
yeah.
John Gruden's track record isn't.
I don't have every single pick. I just have names
Sure.
but so what I think is, and I know you touched on them a little bit earlier, Adam, it's kind of funny because I very much can see them staying at 23 and drafting Caden Proctor from Alabama. And the idea here is that this kid is a mountain. He's a mountain. And
I would love that pick, by the way. I would love that pick.
what I think they ultimately would do, we spent all of last season saying, oh man, if only they had Becton at right guard. And I think this kid's athletic enough where you put him at right guard for a year, you get him on the field, you give him, you give him that spot to play next to Lane Johnson. And then when Lane Johnson retires, you slide him out the right tackle. And now you got a massive right tackle. And I think that kid, I think you're right. Like he probably is a year away from, if he were coming out a year later and was a little more polished, he'd be going higher up. But, and that type of rare athleticism in that type of size is what the Eagles look for in their linemen with Mailata, with Lane Johnson. You see it. And I think that is what they see. And so I could see them taking Proctor in the first round. What I also could see, and I have the same idea that you're thinking, Gary, but a little later actually, is I could see, I just lost it. Where's, I could see what's name falling. Where's, McNeil Warren falling to the top of the second round, and I could see the Eagles using their picks to move up to this second round to get him. Like it's kind of funny. Like you look at all these mock drafts, and you're like, oh, well, and this guy, oh, and that guy, oh, well, and this guy. And then in reality, you get to the actual draft and there's only 30 spots in the first round. People are going to drop, you know what I mean? Like, and so I could see that they spent a lot of time last year on Quentin Mitchell, like looking at him. And I imagine they probably saw McNeil Warren last year. And so that's where I could see them using these extra picks to kind of move up and get him. And they have taken safeties, I think, in the second round. Maybe I'm wrong in that, but I could see them.
Yeah. No, Jaquan Jarrett, I know, is a second round pick.
Jaquan Jarrett. Or I could see them taking TJ Parker from Clemson in the second round. So defensive end from Clemson, he's pretty much a physical, the same type of physical body as Jalen Phillips was. So if they really, really desire that type of fit in that position that Phillips gave them, Parker could be that type of guy also that could help him out doing that.
And Brian, the one last thing I'll say with that safety pick that you got in the second round, like I remember Howie Roseman saying, before the draft, that Cooper DeJean year, a lot of mocks had Cooper DeJean to the Eagles in the first round. Yep. And at the end of that night, Howie Roseman literally said he couldn't sleep because they could not believe Cooper DeJean was available in round 2 the next day. And then they moved up and grabbed him. So I could totally see that.
It was like Christmas morning. It was like waking up for your Christmas gifts,
Yeah.
They couldn't believe it. And to Adam's credit, when they drafted Cooper DeJean, I'm like, oh, here we go, Sean Considine 2.0. And Adam told me he is not Sean Considine.
How dare you?
Cooper DeJean is legit. And Cooper DeJean's been all that. He's been all.
Oh my God. Somebody else, in case he wasn't there in the second round, though, I could see them in the later rounds, probably going for Jalen Kilgore. He's a safety from South Carolina.
Yep.
So he's like 6'1", 210, 440 at the combine. Like he'll be there. He's an athlete. He could be a difference maker.
We can change the name of the Eagles to the Jalen. Right?
Another guy I see them going for in the mid rounds too is Justin Jolly from NC State. So he is 6'4". The guy's a specimen. So he's 6'4". He's 241 pounds. Like he is exactly the type of matchup nightmare guy that you would want at tight end. Like in terms of specimen, I can't like I can't remember what that tight end's name was. From Cleveland, his last name began with an A. I can't remember what it was, but he's that type of guy where you're like, there's just like this massive tight end that's just an athletic freak that can, honest to God, just make a difference if you have somebody who's looking out for him, right? Um, and I think I really think that they go, you're right. They're going to throw like picks at the defensive line. They always do, right? So I could see them still going for more. Like there's just one kid he's an interior lineman, Caleb Proctor. So from Southeast Louisiana, 9 sacks, 39 hurries. Like he's the type of guy that he can be your third DT, and he'd be your cheap third DT, or even your fourth one to get your rotation going. And the one last kid was the kid from another lineman is from Northwestern. Where is he? Where I am in the notes. He could be he wouldn't be eventually your starting tackle, I don't think. But what I think he would be your like first guy off the bench, your Matt Pryor, if you will. Where he like,
God's
yeah, if there's any sort of, where is he? Caleb Tiernan, that's who it is, from Northwestern. So 6'8", 323 pounds. Like he's just Big Ten offensive lineman. I love all those Big Ten O linemen. Like they're phenomenal. You can't get enough of them. So, I think it's ultimately this year they do focus more on the lines, mixing a little safety, tight end, not your glamour positions for the most part that you typically focus on in the draft and people get excited over, but still really important positions nonetheless.
Well, they've gone glamour in the last couple drafts, right? They put like bunch of defensive, like D ends, D tackles, defensive secondary, wide receiver. Like we got glamour. Okay, they got to get the trenches got to get fixed.
branches.
This is where it's got to happen. So, that being said, Adam, I want you to bring it all together. What is your full Eagles draft?
So to piggyback off of Brian, that's the number one move I'm going to be with is the Caden Proctor, and you hit it with the Mekhi Becton comparison because I think that they loved that and it gives them flexibility throughout. So that's kind of where I see the first round them going Caden Proctor. I mean, you could have fun and say receiver trade. My dream's Caleb Downs, but I don't think it's happening. I really do think Caden Proctor, that's the guy. That's where I'm feeling. Now, the way I kind of see the rest of the draft, it's really hard to predict the rounds because there's a lot of depth in this draft. But I'm just going to give you I think about 7 or 8 names I would love for them to take at some point in time from second to the 5th round. Let's go with that.
Okay.
Deny Dennis Sutton from Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
He's your Jalen Phillips. He's not super flashy, but he's strong. He's compact. He can play inside, outside. He's a very solid defensive end prospect. I think 2nd or 3rd round, I feel that's a real possibility. Another player in the 2nd round, Kalen Rutledge out of Georgia Tech. That's if they don't go offensive lineman in the 1st round, I think he is a very, very high target, and I think they would trade up for him as well. He's your Landon Dickerson type of guy. Now, these 2 defensive tackles I absolutely love, and one is considered a 1st round pick. We'll see really where he is because I think he might kind of fall out. Is Caden McDonald out of Ohio State. He's just a horse. He's a big, big guy. And the next guy I absolutely love out of Texas Tech, his name is Lee Hunter. Absolutely love him. I think he almost flashed a little bit more than David Bailey in the big games. And I think Moro Jomo was so impressive. And they're in this kind of bind. Are we just going to keep throwing all this money at defensive tackle? And you really can't. You can't be paying that much money because Moro Jomo is going to be making a lot of money soon. So I think they have to plan for that in the future. Now, a couple guys, Elijah Surratt was talked about. I absolutely love him. I think he'll be a third, fourth rounder. He's a big physical route runner. I think he's going to be just a great, solid NFL player. I saw this guy play live at Texas A&M, and I thought he was unbelievable. He's small, but he's a great little punt returner. And I really think he's going to have one of those impressive years or careers. Mario Craver. He's a small little guy, fourth, fifth round, but he's my dream pick for the Eagles in this draft somewhere. Like I would love him. Then you guys talked about safety, and safety is always kind of a weird position, but there's one guy that doesn't really get talked about too much, but I think would be a phenomenal pickup for the Eagles. His name is Bud Clark out of TCU. He's a free range, free safety. He runs the 4.4. I would say the only knock on him is he's not that big, heavy hitter, but he is phenomenal in coverage. He's your center fielder. I talked earlier, I think I mentioned to you guys at one point in time about my theory of the Eagles safety rotation with Cooper DeJean, and it's about Cooper DeJean. I believe they took Reek Woolen and they're worried about he might not be the guy, so they got Jonathan Jones as kind of like the backup. I think that Cooper DeJean in base is going to be safety, and I think they're going to try and develop some form of slot corner in the big or in like widespread because I think they want Cooper DeJean on the field at deep safety. Otherwise, their cupboard's kind of bare, and they're putting a lot of expectation in Makuba. But that's kind of where I see. But to recap real quick, Mario Craver is my big guy. I would absolutely love the little guy, but receiver. And my number one guy I see them going if they sit at 23 is Caden Proctor. But if they move up, I think it's Monroe Freeling from Georgia.
Well, I go back to two things. First, Brian's theory on the visits that the Eagles take in, where they haven't even had 30 visits this year, and Proctor is number one on that list. So if he's there at 23, that's a done deal. And then, Adam, your theory about the safety room and putting Cooper DeJean on the field, I actually said 2 weeks ago, and Gary shamed me. He shamed me, and he talked to me like I was a little boy, and he told me, no, Nick, Eagles, he's a slot guy. He's a corner. He's not a safety. He's not going to be out there to safety position. He shamed me. But yeah, I agree. I agree. I agree with our guest. I agree with Adam. And I hope Adam comes on more to validate some of the crazy things that I say. I think that'd be great.
I agree with Gary, and you should both be shamed. Humiliated. Because DeJean even right now, from the moment they draft him, they had this idea that he would be a Malcolm Jenkins type player, not where you would put him in any traditional position, just a position on the field where you could match him up anywhere you need him to be. And I think that's why he'll stay in the slot, because design wise, there's more flexibility to put him in different put him in different positions and matchups than there would be at safety. And so I think that's why he stays at. They traditionally run like a 3 cornerback type defense regardless. So like that's just how they do it. They do 2 backers and then they'll have DeJean on the field. So I understand what Gary's saying. And I don't think the idea of putting him back in a traditional safety position is what ultimately they want to do with him. He's talented enough. You could make him do it. He could do it. And I don't think he would. I think he'd be successful at it. I just think as an organization, they think more of a Malcolm Jenkins, a higher end, higher bred Malcolm Jenkins type.
I also want to throw one more name out there, Adam, and if you guys have seen this guy play, because I do think, obviously, with the salary cap, Howie Roseman, they try to balance the books. If he still continues in the trend he's doing, I mean, Quinyon Mitchell is going to get paid by the Eagles. He's going to get extended. The Reek Woolen thing, he's going to start a corner, but it's a 1-year deal. It's not like they gave him Asante Samuel money when they signed Asante Samuel when free agency started to like a 5-year deal. So we'll see about it. I'm not sold on Reek Woolen. He'll get the shot, but I'm going to give you a name. And you tell me if you like him. You tell me if it kind of gives you the vibes, the Sidney Jones vibes, if you will, when they took Sidney Jones out of Washington. But what about, I read about Jermod McCoy, the Tennessee cornerback, really talented, but was injured. I just think, I know we talked about our first round picks and a line and whatever, but I just got to think in Howie Roseman's world, he would love to have another cheap stud corner opposite Quinyon Mitchell. So what about McCoy?
He's awesome. He smells like a cowboy to me, is my biggest reality with it. You guys talked a lot about Mansour Delane. I actually think he's better than Mansour Delane. It's just he was hurt the last year. So I think he's a top 15 pick. I would be shocked if he drops, but if he's sitting there, I think that's consideration. But I think the offensive line was just so pathetic last year, and then the injuries and I just feel like that's kind of their MO is let's go O-line. But yeah, no, I mean, I think he's super, super talented, but to me, that's smells like a cowboy player to me.
All right. And then what about our favorite nepotism pick in Josiah Trotter? No one mentioned him. I don't know why I want it, but I want it. I think I just I want more guys with that name on the field. If Brian Dawkins' kid was in the draft, I'd be asking you, why are we not talking about Brian Dawkins' kid? It's the same thing. I don't know. It gives me little nostalgic feelings, and that's it. Like, are they as good as their father? No, but I don't know. I still want it. Make it happen, Gary. Round 6, I don't care.
That'd be you tell me, like when Trot Jr. was coming out, and now you got Josiah. What kind of compare and contrast both players, and which one do you like more?
Well,
And what do you want to see the Eagles draft him?
I mean, I think there's no problem because he would just be like a special teamer. I have no issue with that. He's more of like a bigger outside guy compared to his brother. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. on our team he's smaller. That's his biggest issue. He's not as fast. I think you're just drafting a special teamer in that mark. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's just more depth. I mean, it's the Smile Munden position. That's essentially what it is.
I think if Jeremiah Trotter's dog applied for the NFL draft,
I'd want to
yeah, oh, we can't throw a pick at Pork Chop Trotter or whatever. Like, it's like the X.
Yeah. If Charles Dwyer was in the draft, I'd be like, yeah, absolutely, do it. He'd be field goal blocker.
The one thing that I'm interested on is if they end up trading anybody off of the roster in the mid rounds in order to get more picks to put themselves in a position to handle these massive extensions they got coming down the road.
Well,
and so like those are the things that I wouldn't be shocked. I know they're running thin at the end, but like I said in the past, if they moved Nolan Smith, I wouldn't be shocked for a pick. If they ended up moving even like Aromo or if they ended up moving somebody else that's not AJ Brown, I wouldn't be shocked. I really wouldn't be, because it's like they're just trying to. They know what's coming down the road financially.
Well,
and
on that, I've told Gary my thought. I think there's one guy that they could potentially trade. It wouldn't be mid-round; it would be first round, and you would get an absolute haul and a guy that they could trade, knowing that money's going to become an issue next year, knowing what they could get in return, and they're never going to get more in return than they would right now. Would be Jalen Carter. They could trade Jalen Carter for someone else's first round pick this year, probably a first round pick next year, and more, because he's got one more year on his cheapest 5th-year option is still there. Another team can bring him in, extend him, and go forward, and the Eagles could end up with maybe 3 help us right now players. And look, I understand the problem with getting rid of a guy that's so talented, but also has shown that he is sometimes a bit of a problem. So I think they could make a move right now and trade. My wild card kick out at 2 idea for this draft is that the Eagles trade Jalen Carter in the first round of the draft and get a monster haul back from, like, a blockbuster, like a wild, like Howie Roseman fleeces some other team. They get Jalen Carter, who is a game changer, who's a dynamo on the football field. But Howie Roseman ends up with like 3 first-round picks and a couple late-round picks.
If you
I'll put,
do that,
I'll put 2 shots of Malort on that wild card pick.
Okay. All right.
I mean, to kind of like support that idea. I mean, you can look at where they put all their money. They're so overloaded. They have twice as much money on the offense than the defense, and maybe that's what they believe is the formula to success. And that would be the only way you do it, is if you would trade the most expensive defensive guy to keep the AJ Brown contract, keep repaying Jalen Hurts. I mean, I feel like that's your best option otherwise, because that's going to be a lot of money going forward in that crew.
Absolutely.
trade Carter. If you trade Carter, you end up essentially blowing up your entire defensive line and the philosophy in which how you build around it. So, and your talent all of a sudden goes from above league average to below league average quickly. And so, if you're going to trade him, you need to realize that this is rebuilding that D line is going to take like 2 years to do it, and because you're going to be missing a lot if you move him. And I just think if you pay him, you're paying him because he's worth it. Like they don't tend to overpay a lot of people. So if they pay him, it's because he's a rare generational talent in at a position that doesn't really have that often. So, and has direct impact on every snap for the most part, regardless if he's getting the quarterback or somebody else is. So, I mean, you could definitely trade him. I just, but to me, I just think like this whole idea of trading your first pick and Hurts to the Raiders for the first overall pick. I mean, is it the craziest idea?
Yes, it's the craziest. Yes, it is.
Is it?
Yes.
You sure about that?
Yep.
We
Absolutely.
sure? I'm just putting it out there.
No, Kelly wants to know. Brian wants to trade your first-round pick and Jalen Hurts to the Raiders for the first overall pick. No, they can hear the cat, but they're tired of telling me to kill the cat. So, Adam, should I kill the cat?
Yes.
Yeah, Adam also said.
We like Adam.
All right, guys, listen, I got to roll. So we're gonna cut this. We're gonna come back next week. We're gonna talk about the draft and everything that happened. So I will talk to you fellas next week, and I hope we get everything that we have on our Christmas lists.
I just give you my wild card suggestion really quick
Please.
before we get out of here. I just think to what Brian said about Eagles drafting wide receivers, I think that scares Howie Roseman a little bit.
Absolutely.
If in fact AJ Brown gets moved, I think they're going to look to trade for another wide receiver. I don't know how they get it done because this guy just signed an extension, but we go back to connections. Joe Douglas was in the building. Joe Douglas, I'm pretty certain drafted this guy. Again, I'm just going to float this out there. It's a wild card prediction. Probably won't happen, but AJ Brown gets traded. Howie Roseman brings in another wide receiver who's established and young, and they go get Garrett Wilson from the Jets.
Oh.
Nope.
Wow.
Not going to happen.
Garrett Wilson with the Jets.
I gotta go.
Catching passes from Fernando Mendoza? Is that what we're talking about? Wilson connection? I like it.
Brian, I got a shot of Malort on the Jalen Hurts trade. Gary, I got 2 shots of Malort on the on your idea, on your Garrett Wilson. Not happening.
I do like your reasoning with Jalen Carter, but I think they're gonna extend him. I mean, they don't win the Super Bowl without him. They don't beat the Rams without him. And the reason why they sacked Mahomes so many times, in large part, was Jalen Carter.
All right. Well, hey,
that sounds like more shame, Nick.
Yeah, it does. It does sound like more shame. Well, we'll see. We will see. We will see what happens. Right. I got 2 with Steve on that one. Adam, thanks so much for joining us. I hope we see you on the draft recap next week. Go Birds, dickheads.
See you later.
Yeah.